The 3rd of June, 2025, Monte Biaena, Italy. Italian climbing legend Cristian Brenna takes a step onto an ordinary mountain trail, just 1,000 meters above sea level. For a man who free climbed at 5,000 meters in the Karakoram and scaled 900-meter walls in Patagonia, this is a walk in the park. One wrong step, and his body plummets. A 100-meter free fall. Instant death. How could a man who lived on the edge for 30 years, who survived the planet's harshest conditions, die on a trail where retirees go for a stroll? Why do professionals so often die in the very places they let their guard down? To understand this tragedy, we have to go back to where it all began. To an industrial suburb of Milan, where a young guy in work overalls has no idea that in 10 years, he'll become the first Italian to win a World Cup event. Bolate. An industrial district on the outskirts of Milan. Factories, smoke, concrete boxes. This is where Cristian Brenna was born in 1970. No family history of mountaineering. No talk of alpinism over dinner. This isn't Chamonix, where kids are out in the mountains by the age of 5. This is the working class, where the main thing is to learn a trade and start earning a living. Brenna starts training to be an electrician, a standard story for a kid from the suburbs. Wiring, circuit breakers, transformer vaults. His hands are calloused, his back aches. But he notices something interesting. When he has to climb a utility pole, or hang from a bracket with just one hand, it comes easy to him. The other guys use safety lines. They tremble, complain about being tired. But he just hangs there, calm, as if it's the most natural position in the world. A few years go by. Brenna is working, living a normal life. Then, one day in May of 1987, a friend suggests, "Hey, let's go to Lecco, check out the cliffs." Lecco is a legendary spot for Italian climbers. Limestone walls rising right above Lake Como. It's where the famous Spiders of Lecco used to train, a legendary crew that tackled the toughest routes in the Alps. Brenna shows up, 17 years old. He looks at the wall. He sees people scrambling up the vertical face, gripping tiny holds, hanging by their fingertips. And something just clicks. He gives it a try for the first time in his life, and he realizes this is it. This is his thing. He comes back again and again. After his shift, he drops his tools and drives to Lecco. His hands ache in a new way now, not from pulling cables, but from gripping rock. And he loves it. He loves the fight against gravity. He loves how his body is learning to obey him in a whole new way. Later, he would joke, "I was the strongest electrician in Milan." But it wasn't just a joke. It was a philosophy. Brenna would never become a mountain romantic. You wouldn't hear him talking about spirituality or becoming one with nature. For him, it was a job. A tough, grueling job that demanded technique and endurance. Like being an electrician. Only vertical. By the end of the 80s, he already knew. This wasn't a hobby. It was a calling. The vertical world was calling him. And Brenna answered. No drama, he just went for it. Brenna quickly realizes he has a problem. He looks at the other climbers. Powerful backs, chiseled forearms, explosive power in every single move. And then he looks at himself. Just an average build, no raw, natural strength. When he needs to make a dynamic move to a distant hold, he peels off. When he has to do a one-arm pull-up from a bad grip, the power just isn't there. Most people would have quit. They'd just blame it on bad genetics. But Brenna notices something else. When everyone else is gassed, when their forearms are pumped and giving out, he's still got something left in the tank. He can climb for longer. He can repeat the same move dozens of times. Phenomenal endurance. That was his secret weapon. And he decides to turn it into his ultimate advantage. The year is 1991. Brenna builds a homemade campus board. It's a wooden board with rungs used for training dynamic moves. A standard piece of kit for climbers. But Brenna, he uses it his own way. He doesn't do short sets like everyone else. He does circuits, endless circuits. His approach looks absolutely insane. He grabs the rungs and starts moving. One move, 2, 10, 20, 50, 100. Any normal person would have stopped. Brenna keeps going. 200 moves, 300, 400. By 1995, he has perfected his system. A single workout is now 500 to 600 moves. Just imagine that. 600 times. Grabbing a rung, pulling up, latching to the next. His fellow climbers look at him like he's crazy. Brenna just smirks. To him, it's simple logic. If you can't be the strongest, then you have to be the one who can last the longest. 3 times a week, for 5 straight years. No missed sessions, no self-pity. His body begins to change. Not on the outside, Brenna would never look like a bodybuilder. The changes were all happening on the inside. His body is learning to recover while under strain. He can hang on the wall, take a 5-second rest, and be ready to climb again. Other climbers need minutes. All he needs is a few moments. It's like upgrading the cooling system instead of the engine. The engine itself is still standard, but it never, ever overheats. It can run for hours on end. His fellow climbers start to realize there's something different about this guy. In competitions, on the long, grueling routes where everyone else falls off, their forearms completely pumped. Brenna just keeps climbing, calmly, methodically, without rushing. It's as if he has a bottomless well of energy, and the secret was simple: 500 moves 3 times a week, for 5 years straight. It's the early 1990s. Brenna is still working as an electrician. Days are for pulling cables, evenings are for the campus board, and weekends are for the crag. The schedule is brutal. There's no money, no sponsors, and then he gets an offer he can't refuse. The Fiamme Gial, Italy's financial guard. It sounds strange, but in Italy that's how it works. Elite athletes are given the status of public employees. On paper, you're part of the organization. In reality, your job is to train and compete, and the state pays you a salary, a steady paycheck, every single month. For Brenna, this is the chance of a lifetime. He quits his job as an electrician. No more transformer vaults, no more shifts. Now, it's just the rock, just training. He is a professional athlete. He chooses to specialize. In competitive climbing, there are 3 disciplines. You've got bouldering, short explosive problems that are all about power. Then there's speed climbing. Pretty self-explanatory. It's a race to the top. And finally, lead climbing. Long, grueling routes that push your endurance to the limit. For Brenna, the choice was a no-brainer. Lead climbing. His entire training system was built for it. While other climbers gas out halfway up the wall, he just keeps going. And this is where the paradox of his career begins. On the world stage, Brenna is a force. He makes finals. He goes head-to-head with legends. His name echoes at World Cup events. The crowds remember the Italian who never, ever gives up. But back home, in Italy, at the national competitions, he loses. Consistently. The Italian Cup eludes him. Time and time again. Why? No one really knows. Maybe it was psychological. Maybe it was the style of the routes. Or maybe he just took his foot off the gas at home, only truly switching on for the international scene. But the fact remains. Brenna could beat the French and the Germans at a World Cup, and then lose to his own countrymen in Turin. His fellow climbers would joke about it. Journalists were baffled, but Brenna didn't care. He had his own logic. He wasn't chasing domestic titles. He was building a career, methodically, like an electrician laying cable, step by step, no fuss. The 90s were the golden age of competition climbing. The venues were packed. Cameras broadcast the events all across Europe. Legends were being made right before your eyes. The Frenchman, François Legrand, was dominating like a machine. The Germans, the Swiss, the Spanish, all the heavy hitters were there. The level was insane, and Brenna was right in the mix, but always second, third, fourth. He'd make the finals. He'd fight hard. He'd climb nearly to the top, only to fall just 1 move away from gold. Legrand would edge him out, or someone else would. There was always someone just a little bit stronger in that crucial moment. He didn't complain. He didn't whine. He just went back to the campus board. Another 500 moves. Another session until failure. His masochistic system kept on working, but still no gold. 1998, Courmayeur, a lead World Cup event, a small town in the Alps at the foot of Mont Blanc, a home event for Italy, a crowd of Italian fans. The pressure was immense. Brenna steps up to the wall, hands chalked. He looks up at the route. It's long, grueling, exactly what he's built for. The judges give the signal. He starts to climb. The first third, he's calm. His movements are precise, unhurried. The other competitors have already set their marks. The bar is high. He has to make it all the way to the top. The middle of the route, this is where even the strong climbers start to peel off. Forearms screaming, fingers slipping off tiny holds. But Brenna still has an ace up his sleeve. He can recover right there on the wall, the final section, the crux. This is where all his main rivals gave up. Brenna latches onto a minuscule hold, pulls up, reaches for the next one. One more move, and another. The crowd below starts to roar. The Italian fans know they're about to witness history. The last move, the top. Brenna slaps the final hold. The arena erupts. The first Italian in history to win a lead World Cup. It was like an Italian winning the Tour de France, or Wimbledon, a national breakthrough. Brenna makes his way down, a tired smile on his face. Reporters swarm him. The questions come one after another. How did you do it? What's the secret? His answer is simple: training. A lot of training. Back then, no one knew the details. They didn't know about the 600 moves, 3 times a week, about the 5 years of relentless training, about how he turned his weakness into his greatest strength. But now, everyone sees the result. Brenna proved it. The system works. All that grueling work pays off in gold. The kid from Biaena standing on the top step of the podium, and all of Italy is watching. This is the peak of his competitive career, but it's only the beginning of another story. After Courmayeur, Brenna could have kept chasing medals, traveled the circuit, racked up points, built a career as a competition athlete. But something inside him is changing. He's starting to get tired of the plastic, artificial holds, the same gyms, routes that someone else designed and bolted to a wall. It's like playing chess by someone else's rules. Interesting, but not real. Brenna finds himself escaping to the crags more and more. Real rock, a real wall. And there, he discovers a new religion, the onsight. Onsighting is climbing a route on your very first try. You walk up to a wall. You've never seen it before. You don't know where the holds are. You don't know what moves will work. You look up from the ground for a few minutes, trying to read the line, and then you climb. No rehearsals, no second chances. You either make it to the top or you fall, and the onsight is gone. You can come back and climb the route later, but that's a different category altogether. For Brenna, this is the purest essence of climbing. Honesty, a direct challenge. No cheating. It's you against the rock, one-on-one. Your experience, your technique, your endurance against the unknown. He starts collecting onsights. He'll show up at a crag. Look at an AIDA route. That's a grade that even experienced climbers spend weeks working on. He studies the line, takes a deep breath, climbs, and sends it. Again and again. By the early 2000s, he has over 100 AIDA onsights. 100 routes, all climbed on the first attempt. That's like scoring 100 goals from free kicks in soccer. It's not just a result, it's consistency at the highest level. His peers start to say it. Brenna is an onsight machine. His phenomenal endurance is perfectly suited for this style. When you don't know a route, you often make extra moves. You make mistakes. You waste energy. Most climbers fall because they get tired. But Brenna has so much in the tank, he can afford to make mistakes. He can figure out the sequence right there on the wall and still make it to the top. Competitions gradually fade into the background. He still competes. He still wears the Fiamme Gial uniform. But his heart isn't in it anymore. His heart is on the rocks, on real stone, searching for that perfect line, the one you can read with a glance and climb on the first go. It's a philosophy. The ethics of a pure ascent, no rehearsing, no memorizing sequences. To trust yourself, your experience, your body. And Brenna proves that he can, again and again, 100 times over. January 2002. Castellon, France. Limestone walls, polished smooth by generations of climbers. Brenna stands at the base, staring up at a route called Mortal Kombat. The name says it all. The grade, 8B+. The very limit of what's considered possible to climb on-site. In the world of climbing, there's an unwritten rule. Routes graded 8B+ are so incredibly difficult that even the world's best athletes spend weeks, sometimes months, trying to figure them out. To climb one on your first try, that's like solving an equation no one has ever solved before. At the time, Only one person in the world had ever managed an 8B plus onsight, the Japanese climber Yuji Hirayama, a legend, an icon. Brenna studies the route from the ground. He sees two distinct sections. The first part is technical, all about tiny, precise holds. The second is a power endurance test, straight through a steep overhang. And in between, there's a ledge, a place to rest, to shake out his arms. But if he falls on either section, that's it. The onsight is gone. He ties in, chalks up his hands, takes a deep breath, and starts climbing. The first section is tense. Every move has to be perfect. No mistakes, no falling. His fingers grip tiny pockets in the rock. His feet search for friction on the smooth slab. His mind is screaming, "Don't rush, don't rush." The ledge. He's made it. He shakes out his arms, trying to catch his breath. But there's not much time. The second section is waiting, the overhang. This part requires power, pure, raw power. The one thing Brenna doesn't naturally have. But what he does have is endurance. He starts moving across the roof. Every single move is a fight. Gravity is pulling him down. His arms are failing. His legs are shaking. But he keeps going. One more hold, then another. The final anchor is in sight. The last move. He reaches for it, taps the top, and then he just hangs on the rope, completely spent. So exhausted, he doesn't even have the energy to scream. He just hangs there, breathing, letting it sink in. An 8B plus onsight. The second person in the world to ever do it. Brenna was now in the same league as Hirayama. Mortal Kombat had been climbed. The deadly battle won. But for him, it wasn't enough. November 2003. Monte Sibillini National Park, Italy. Brenna decides to try something new. Traditional climbing, or as it's known, trad. There are no pre-placed bolts drilled into the rock. You place your own protection as you go, small pieces of gear, called cams and nuts, that you wedge into cracks. If a piece fails, you fall until the next one catches you, or until you hit the ground. The route is not always Pasqua. It's not always Easter. The grade is E9. In the British grading system, that means one thing: lethal risk. A fall could mean broken bones, or worse. Brenna starts climbing. He places his cams in the cracks, tests them, trusts them with his life. He moves higher, and then, suddenly, his foot slips. The friction gives way. He's off, a free fall, a single second that feels like an eternity. The rope goes tight. The jolt. The entire force of the fall comes down on a single piece of gear, a number 5 cam, a small metal device, wedged in a crack. The placement holds, the cam holds. Brenna is left dangling on the rope, alive. His heart is pounding like a hammer. His hands are shaking. He was one step away from disaster. He realizes then and there, trad climbing isn't for him. There are too many variables, too much left to chance. Brenna returns to sport climbing, to the bolts, to control. But there's still one piece of unfinished business. The grade of 9A, the absolute pinnacle of sport climbing, an exclusive club with only a handful of members. May 2005. Masson Cave, Arco, a former quarry, now a world-famous outdoor crag. The route underground. Grade 9, TCA, a severely overhanging roof, long, relentless. Brenna had been working on it back in 2003. 6 attempts, 6 falls on the final crux move. Every time, he almost made it, and every time, he fell right at the very end. Devastated, furious with himself. 2 years go by. He returns. He talks with the Slovenian, Uroš Perko, a local legend. Perko gives him a tip on the final sequence, a small detail, one technical tweak, the 7th attempt. Brenna starts climbing. He flows through the entire route. He reaches the crux. He uses Perko's beta. The move works. He reaches for the top. Underground is sent. Grade 9, A. Brenna joins the elite club of the world's strongest climbers. This was it. The end of one career. He'd proven everything he wanted to prove on the rock. Now, it was time for a new challenge. The mountains were calling. And Brenna answered. The year is 2005. Brenna is 35. In the world of sports, that's an age when you start thinking about retirement. Open a climbing gym. coach the next generation, write a memoir, enjoy the fame and the salary from the fiamme gial, a logical end to a career. Brenna chooses the opposite. He looks towards the mountains, the big mountains, high-altitude mountaineering. His peers don't get it. Why? You've already proven everything. An 8B plus onsight, a 9, a red point, a World Cup podium. You're a legend. Why start from scratch at 35? Brenna's explanation is simple: versatility. He doesn't want to be just a rock climber. He wants to combine the technique of a climber with the endurance of a mountaineer. Climbing at altitude, in the cold, in the thin air, it's a different level, a whole other game. The problem is, he's a complete novice when it comes to mountaineering. Sure, he can climb better than most, but high-altitude alpinism is about more than just climbing. It's acclimatization, glaciers, avalanches, weather, gear, teamwork on a rope, surviving in an environment where one mistake can cost you your life. Brenna joins the legendary Ragni de Lecco Club, the famous Spiders of Lecco, the very same place where he started out at 17. Now, he's one of them, learning from the people who've taken on the Himalayas and the Karakoram. They watch him with curiosity, the rock climber who wants to become an alpinist. Let's see how this goes. Summer 2005, the first test, an expedition to Pakistan. The objective, the Chogalisa Glacier, a massif rising over 7,000 meters. The team is small, seasoned mountaineers and one rookie, Brenna. He steps into another world, the thin air at 5,000 meters. Every breath is a struggle. His head pounds from the altitude. His body is screaming for rest. But he has to keep moving, carry the pack, set up camp, work. Brenna draws on everything he's learned from years of training, phenomenal endurance, the ability to recover quickly, mental fortitude. He realizes the same principles apply here. The conditions are just harsher, and his rock climbing skills, they kick in too. When the team reaches the technical sections, Brenna is in his element. Rock, cracks, holds. This is his language. Only now, it's at 5,000 meters and in mountaineering boots. The experienced climbers are watching. The guy's holding his own. No complaints. He's not asking for any special treatment. He's pulling his weight, just like everyone else. In fact, on the technical sections, he's stronger than most of them. That rock climbing background gives him a massive edge. The expedition becomes a test, and Brenna passes it. He proves to himself and to the team that this transformation is possible. You can be a rock climber and a mountaineer. You can start a whole new career at 35. Versatility. It's more than just a word. It's a philosophy. Don't limit yourself to one discipline. Take the best from each one. Be effective everywhere. Brenna comes back from Pakistan a changed man. The rock climber had become a mountaineer. But this was just the beginning. The real test was still to come. 2008. Brenna sets his sights on a new goal, Patagonia, the windiest, most unpredictable region on the planet for mountaineering. The weather can change in minutes. The wind will literally knock you off your feet. Temperatures swing from above to below freezing. These mountains don't forgive mistakes. The specific objective, the northwest face of Cerro Pier Giorgio, about 900 meters of sheer vertical granite, a face with a reputation, a bad one. The problem isn't the height, it's the quality of the rock. The granite here is loose, it's flaky, holds crumble in your hands. Gear placements aren't secure. Every single move is a lottery. Will this block hold, or will it break away? Will you fall onto your rope, or will you go down with the rock itself? The legendary Italian alpinist Casimiro Ferrari tried to conquer this face for 10 years. He came back time and time again, and every time he left empty-handed. The wall just wouldn't yield. Too dangerous, too unpredictable. Brenna knows all of this. He knows about Ferrari. He knows the risks, and he goes anyway. With him are Giovanni Ongaro, his partner from the Chogalisa expedition, and Hervé Bermas, another seasoned alpinist. It's a strong team. They have the experience, and motivation is sky high. February 2008. Patagonia greets them with its typical weather, cold, wind, and overcast skies. They set up base camp, they prep their gear, they study the face, and they wait for a weather window. And then disaster strikes. The team is working at the base of the wall, setting up anchors for the first pitches. Ongaro is standing in the wrong place at the wrong time. A chunk of ice breaks loose from above. It's not a massive boulder, but it's heavy enough and fast enough. It strikes him on the hands. Ongaro collapses. He screams in agony. Brenna and Barmasse rush to his side. Both of his hands are badly injured. This is no simple bruise. Out here, in Patagonia, hundreds of kilometers from the nearest hospital, an injury like this can be a death sentence. An emergency evacuation begins. They have to get Ongaro off the glacier, get him to a helicopter, and get him to a hospital. The entire operation takes hours, long, agonizing hours. Ongaro is in shock. The pain is excruciating. He knows his expedition is over before it even started. The helicopter airlifts the injured climber out. Brenna and Barmasse are left alone. They look at each other, then they look at the wall. The expedition is hanging by a thread. They were a team of 3, now they're 2. A key member of their team is gone. Their gear is packed for a team of 3. The plan is in shambles. Logic tells them to pack it in. Come back next year. With a new team, a new plan. It's the reasonable thing to do. It's the safe thing to do. But Brenna looks at the wall, a wall that had gone unclimbed for a decade. He looks over at Barmasse, and he sees that same fire in his eyes. They make a decision. They're staying. They'll take on the wall, just the 2 of them. A desperate push, their last chance, for themselves and for their injured friend. The wall of shadows is waiting. Brenna and Barmasse get their weather window. The forecast promises 36 hours of relatively calm weather, maybe 40. It should be enough. Then again, maybe not. In Patagonia, the forecasts are only right about half the time, at best. 2 in the morning, they set off. It's pitch black, headlamps on. Their packs are heavy, gear, food, water. The wall is 900 meters high. Ahead of them lies the unknown. The first few pitches go relatively smoothly. The granite is solid. The gear placements feel good. But the higher they climb, the worse the rock gets. Flakes chip away under their fingers. Loose blocks wobble. Every piece of pro is a leap of faith. Will it hold? Brenna tries to free climb, but he quickly realizes that's not an option here. The rock is just too unreliable. The weather could turn at any second. Time is their most precious resource. They switch to aid climbing. Grade A3, meaning every 3rd piece of gear, is sketchy. You hang on a piece and just pray it holds. The hours blur together. Hammer in a piton, hang on a webbing ladder, move up. Find the next crack, repeat, over and over. Their hands ache. Their backs scream from the weight of the packs. Their minds go numb from sleep deprivation. They swap leads. Brenna takes a pitch, Barmasse belays. Then they switch. It's a partnership. In the high mountains, you don't survive without it. The trust has to be absolute. You put your life in your partner's hands, and he puts his in yours. Night turns to day. Day fades into twilight. They keep going. Stopping means spending the night on the wall, losing time, risking the weather turning, getting trapped. They have to push on, non-stop. 33 hours without sleep. 33 hours of constant effort. Their bodies are screaming for rest. Their eyes are closing on their own. But they can't stop. One more pitch and another. The last one. They reach the summit ridge, the finale. They're standing on the summit. The wind whips their faces. They're completely exhausted, but inside, there's pure elation. They've done it. Ferrari had been trying for 10 years. They did it in 33 hours. The descent, long, grueling, the return to base camp. Collapsing into the tent. Sleep like falling into oblivion. When they wake up, they realize they need to name the route. Brenna has a name, instantly. La Ruta del Hermano, the Brothers' Route, in honor of Ongaro, their injured friend who started this expedition with them. The one now lying in a hospital, his hands mangled. But without him, they never would have been here. This ascent becomes the crowning achievement of Brenna's climbing career. One of Patagonia's last great problems has been solved. A wall that stood unclimbed for 10 years, conquered by 2 men in a desperate 33-hour push. Brenna returns to Italy a hero. But he doesn't stop there. After Patagonia, Brenna makes the logical next move. He settles down in Arco, a small town in northern Italy, nestled at the foot of the Dolomites. For climbers, it's basically the world capital. The climate is perfect, and there are hundreds of routes for every skill level. A community of professionals. This is where legends live, and where future champions are forged. Brenna earns his UIAGM Mountain Guide certification. It's an international qualification. Now, he can officially guide people in the mountains. For money, legally. This is his profession now. A steady income. His clients are all different. Some are trying rock climbing for the very first time. Others dream of tackling a classic route in the Alps. And then there are those preparing for a major expedition. Brenna works with all of them, patiently, professionally, and with zero ego. And he could act like a superstar, a World Cup podium, an 8B plus onsight, a 9A red point, Patagonia. His resume is impressive. But Brenna stays down to earth. His colleagues all say he's easy to work with. He doesn't pull rank, doesn't lecture you. He just gets the job done. And he's always smiling. At the same time, he's still serving with the Fiamme Gial, but now in a different capacity, as a professional mountain rescuer. When someone's in trouble in the mountains, the call goes out to the rescue service. A helicopter scrambles. A team is dispatched. And on that team is Brenna. This isn't for show. This is the real deal. Evacuating injured hikers, searching for those who are lost, rescuing climbers stranded on a rock face, unable to get down, and sometimes recovering bodies. It's mentally grueling, but someone has to do it. Brenna knows the mountains. He knows the risks. He knows just how fast things can go wrong. That experience makes him an invaluable member of the team. When a rescuer needs to rappel down a treacherous cliff to reach someone, he's the first one over the edge. When a route's safety needs to be assessed, his word is final. The years pass. 2009, 2010, 2015, 2020. Brenna gets older, but he stays in peak condition. Still climbing, still guiding, still saving lives. His life is stable, fulfilling, meaningful. And all the while, his daughter Sophia is growing up. She watches her father come home from the mountains. She listens to his stories, sees his medals, the photos from countless summits, and she decides she wants to climb too. Brenna doesn't push her, he doesn't force it, he just supports her. Sophia starts training, enters youth competitions, and just keeps getting better. And then one day, she becomes the Italian champion for her age group. Her father is proud, of course, but he doesn't make a big deal out of it. He's not bragging on every street corner. To him, it just feels natural. His daughter found her calling. That's a good thing. Let her follow her own path. His colleagues on the rescue team value Cristian Brenna for who he is, for his willingness to always lend a hand, for the sense of calm he brings to the most tense situations, for that constant smile, the one that's still there even after the toughest missions. Arco is his home now. The surrounding mountains are his office. The clients are his daily routine. The rescue service, his duty, his daughter, his pride. Life is settled, orderly, safe, or as safe as a life in the mountains can ever truly be. But Brenna never lets his guard down. He knows the mountains don't forgive, ever, not even for those who've known them for decades. And June 3rd, 2025, would prove him right. June 3rd, 2025, a Tuesday. Just another morning in Arco. Brenna wakes up, has breakfast, checks his gear. He's heading into the mountains today. But it's not an expedition, not a difficult route, just a simple hike. Mount Biaena, a mountain just outside the city. It stands at about 1,350 meters above sea level. For someone who's climbed at 5,000 meters in the Karakoram, this is a playground. For a man who's tackled 900-meter walls in Patagonia, it's just a warm-up. Brenna is with a colleague from the Guardia di Finanza, his partner on the mountain rescue team. The two of them are hiking together. The plan is simple. Traverse the ridge. Just some mountain trekking. Maybe a few spots of easy scrambling. Nothing serious. Nothing that demands your full attention. The weather is ordinary. No storm, no thunderstorm, no high winds. Just a typical June day in the Alps. Scattered clouds. The temperature is comfortable. No red flags. No reason to be concerned. They set out from town in the morning. The climb is easy. The path is well worn. A tourist trail. You see families with kids here, retirees, people doing Nordic walking. This isn't extreme mountaineering, it's a stroll. Brenna is relaxed, maybe too relaxed. He's chatting with his partner. They're probably talking about work, the latest operations, new recruits on the team, plans for the summer. Just a normal conversation between colleagues. The ridge, a traverse across the mountainside, a section where the path cuts along the slope. It's not a vertical wall, not even a steep ascent, just a path, maybe a little narrower than usual. Maybe it's grass underfoot instead of rock, but nothing difficult, nothing that requires a rope. 11 a.m. Brenna takes another step along the traverse. His foot lands on the grass, or maybe on some loose scree. Accounts would later differ on exactly what happened. Did he misstep, stumble, slip? One motion, a single second of inattention, on a simple path where you don't need a rope, where you're not thinking about safety, where your brain just switches to autopilot. His balance is gone. His body lurches. His hands reach out trying to grab onto something. But the slope is steep. The grass is slick. The rocks are loose. There's nothing to hold on to. Brenna starts to slide. It's not a fall, not yet. It's a slide. Down the grass, across the earth. The slope is wooded. Trees, bushes, roots. But he's picking up speed. His body can't find purchase. His hands grasp at branches. The branches snap. The slide gets faster, the slope gets steeper, and the slide becomes a fall, a free fall, down into the void. Gravity takes over. At the bottom of the slope, there are rock outcroppings, boulders, sharp edges. His body hits them, once, then again. The speed is immense, the force of the impact, devastating. A man who had lived for 54 years, who had completed hundreds of routes, climbed thousands of meters in the mountains, survived Patagonia, walked away from a fall on trad gear, won a World Cup, coached a champion, saved dozens of lives. His partner, still up on the trail, sees it all. He sees Brenna lose his footing. He sees the slide. He sees the fall. There's nothing he can do. He screams. It's useless. It all happens too fast. Then, the silence after the fall. A terrible, heavy silence. His partner stands frozen on the path. He looks down. He knows he can't get down there on his own. It's too steep, too dangerous. He needs help. He pulls out his radio, the emergency channel, a call to mountain rescue. The call comes into the regional rescue service. An accident on Mount Biaena. Someone's fallen down a slope. A drop of about 100 meters. They have the coordinates. Immediate evac required. The on-duty crew scrambles. Standard procedure. They handle hundreds of these calls a year. The helicopter preps for takeoff. The ground team gathers their gear. Medics check their kits. It's all routine. All by the book. And then someone recognizes the victim's name. Cristian Brenna. A pause. Silence. He's one of ours. A colleague. A member of the SAGF. The Alpine unit of the Guardia di Finanza. The atmosphere changes in an instant. This isn't just another operation. This is personal. They're flying out to get their own. The man who stood beside them on dozens of missions just like this one. The one who rappelled down to the injured, who pulled people out of the most impossible situations. The helicopter lifts off. The flight is short. Mount Biaena is close to town. A matter of minutes. The pilot scans for a place to land. The slope is steep, wooded. Landing is impossible. It'll have to be a winch rescue. A rescuer is lowered down. He touches the slope, moves toward the point of impact. He sees the body. He gets closer, checks for a pulse, the pupils, breathing, professional habit. Even though it's already clear, death is confirmed on sight, instantaneous. His injuries were unsurvivable. There was nothing anyone could have done. Even if medics had been right there the moment he fell, it wouldn't have mattered. Meanwhile, the ground team is making its way up from below. Brenna's colleagues, the people he'd worked with for years, the ones he'd shared meals with at base camp after a mission, joked with, talked shop, shared stories. Now, they're coming for his body. This is the hardest part of a rescuer's job. When you realize there's no one left to save, when all that's left is the recovery, the extraction, the procedure, they reach the site, they see their friend. Someone looks away, someone clenches their jaw. Another quickly wipes an eye, but the job has to be done, professionally, with dignity, the way he would have done it in their place. The stretcher, securing the body, the climb up the slope. Every step is heavy, Not physically, emotionally. This isn't some anonymous victim. This is Cristian, the guy with the constant smile, a legend of Italian climbing, a man who had conquered Patagonia, who died on a hiking trail 20 minutes from his home. The helicopter is waiting above. They load the body, lift off, the flight back. Later, at the morgue, there will be formalities, reports, paperwork. The cause of death will be listed as injuries from a fall, the circumstances, an accident on a mountain trail. But for the team, he isn't a line in a report. He's the loss of one of their own, an empty spot in the locker room, a name they'll never hear over the radio again, a teammate who isn't coming back at the end of the shift. They did their duty, professionally, flawlessly, just like Brenna taught them. But that doesn't make it any easier, not at all. The news spreads like wildfire. The Italian climbing community is in shock, then Europe's, then the entire world's. Cristian Brenna is dead. A legend is gone, on a simple trail, at an altitude of 1,350 meters. People can't believe it. How? The man who could onsight an 8B+, who climbed 9A, who took on Patagonia, a survivor of the most extreme conditions. He fell on a hiking trail? The official story is brief. Scivolata accidentale, an accidental slip, a tragic accident. The investigation finds no foul play, no technical failures with his gear, just misfortune, a fatal twist of fate. But the pros, they start digging deeper. On blogs, in forums, in private climbers' chats, they're discussing the details, analyzing, searching for an answer to the question, why? One theory? His shoes. Maybe Brenna was wearing light hiking sneakers, or even just regular trainers. For a trail like this, that's perfectly normal. But if the grass is wet, if the rocks are slick, the soles just don't grip, especially when you're relaxed, when you're not focusing on every single step. Others point to psychology, the familiarity effect. When you're on a difficult route, you're laser focused. Every move is calculated, every foothold tested. But on a simple path, the brain switches off. It relaxes, and it lets its guard down. The incident brings up an old truth, one that climbers know but often forget. There's no such thing as safe terrain, no easy mountains, no risk-free hikes. The mountains don't distinguish between a novice and a master. 1 second of inattention, and it's all over, and the stats back this up. Most accidents in the mountains don't happen on extreme routes. They happen on the way down, on the easy sections, when people have already relaxed, when they think the hardest part is behind them. Brenna had conquered the walls of Patagonia. He'd survived a fall on a trad route. He'd climbed at 5,000 meters. And he died on a trail where pensioners go for a stroll. A cruel irony, a tragic paradox, a lesson for everyone who ventures into the mountains. It's important to state the facts. Cristian Brenna, a man. Born in 1970 in Balate, died on June 3, 2025, on Monte Biaena. He lived for 54 years. In those years, he went from being an electrician to a legend. He won a World Cup stage, racked up 108A onsights, and sent Mortal Kombat on his first try. He broke the 9A barrier. He free climbed at 5,300 meters. He took on Patagonia. He raised a champion daughter. He saved dozens of lives. His legacy isn't just about the results. It's a philosophy, versatility, the ethics of a pure approach, a complete lack of pretense, that constant smile. He proved that you don't have to be born with perfect genetics, that you can make up for your weaknesses with sheer endurance, that an electrician from the suburbs can become a pioneer in Patagonia, that age is no barrier to transformation, that a true master is versatile on any terrain. But, with the final act of his life, he also left us with a reminder. The mountains don't forgive, ever, anyone, not even legends, not even on simple trails, not even 20 minutes from home. Cristian Brenna, the strongest electrician in Milan, the man with the smile, a legend who died where no one ever expected. A story that doesn't end in triumph, but with a reminder about the fragility of life, about the price of complacency, about the fact that the mountains always demand respect.